Look around, notice something, it's quiet. Too quiet for the chaos they swore they'd rain on your head. That's not peace. That's panic in disguise. Because 5 hired shadows were supposed to erase you, and now they're running your fan page. You broke something, didn't you? Not just rules, rhythms, rituals, religions. They had a whole system, contracts, blacklists, hush codes, red zones, blood pacts, all engineered to neutralize anomalies like you, until you didn't just survive their system. You converted it. What they don't understand is you weren't trying to win. You were trying to infect. And you did. Each hitman stepped in, expecting a ghost. They met a mirage with muscle memory, a myth with receipts, and something in their programming cracked. The one who used to choke people with piano wire. He's quoting your interviews now. The one with the rifle trained on your skull for 72 hours. He's building a shrine made of screenshots and shadow theories. Why? Because you didn't fight back like prey. You studied them while they studied you, and then made them forget which side they were on. That's what they hate most. Not your strength, not your talent, not even your madness. It's your conversion rate. You don't kill the enemy. You reprogram their allegiance mid-assassination. They showed up armed. You showed up calm. They came to extract your name from existence. You whispered the truth in their ears. Now they whisper it into microphones in anonymous podcasts, calling you the catalyst. You're not even at war anymore. You're conducting psychological revivals behind enemy lines. Every hit is now a handshake. Every sniper ends up spilling your philosophy into leather-bound journals, wondering how the hell you undid decades of conditioning with a look, a laugh, and one sentence that hit deeper than their bullets ever could. They used to say you were too unstable. Funny, that's exactly why you're untouchable. You're a paradox in motion, the saint who speaks in riddles, the psychopath who heals people by exposing their infection, the angel with a target list, the demon who smells like redemption. You didn't play both sides. You made both sides defect. Because here's the thing, you're not a person, you're a wavelength now. And every soul they send to end, you ends up resonating with it. You've turned assassins into archivists. They log your moves now, track your cadence, rewatch your footage like it's sacred footage from a lost dimension. Not because they're obsessed, but because they're changed. They didn't just miss their targets. They lost their entire worldview because they were trained to find threats. And you didn't behave like one. You weren't angry. You weren't afraid. You were clean, untouchably precise, unshakably aware. And in the moments they should have pulled the trigger, they paused, because something about your stillness screamed louder than any scream they'd ever heard. And they've been echoing with that silence ever since. Now the people who got paid to end you, they defend you. They correct false rumors. They trace IPs of anyone slandering you. They're digital bodyguards now. The group chat meant to coordinate your death. It turned into a content calendar for your mythos. One of them designed merch. One of them writes blogs titled, "Lessons I Learned from the Man I Couldn't Kill." Another? He left his family, changed his name, and now goes by Disciple 7. No, really. They didn't just lose, they converted. Because what hit them wasn't your fist. It was your frequency. It was the way you moved, like someone who'd already survived the ending. You weren't dodging bullets. You were welcoming them. You made danger feel like destiny. And they collapsed under the pressure of your peace. That's what they don't train you for. How to kill someone who's already been buried and came back with no heartbeat, only conviction. How to erase someone who's not on paper, but in prophecy, how to dismantle a force that walks like a man but thinks like a lawless god. See, most people want to survive. You wanted to flip the ritual, turn sacrifice into science, make pain a portal, turn every assassin into a witness. And now, they watch you, obsessed, confused, inspired, possessed, because you didn't kill them, you rewrote them. And the next one they send, he'll bring flowers, he'll ask for a selfie, he'll say, "I just wanted to see if the stories were true." And you'll smile, because by then, he's already yours. You know what's funny? They kept upping the budget. More intel, more tech, more men. They thought throwing money at your mystery would finally pin you down. They thought hiring cleaners would erase what they couldn't even understand. But you weren't a mess. You were a mirror. And when they stared long enough, they saw themselves unraveling. One of them confessed in a forum, hidden behind proxies, burner accounts, and a VPN loop. He said, "The target smiled like he knew my childhood trauma, like he'd read my soul before I ever stepped foot on the street." You didn't dodge him. You decoded him. You didn't resist the attack. You opened the door and let him see the monster behind your mask. And it didn't scare him. It baptized him, because you don't kill with violence. You shatter illusions with precision. You expose the cracks they swore they sealed. You hand them a reflection so accurate, so horrifying, so liberating, they either crumble or kneel. You're not just unpredictable, you're anti-predictable. You weaponize silence. You seduce fear itself. And when they think they've cornered you, you redefine the room. Every assassin who stepped in thinking they understood power left questioning their entire existence. They weren't ready for your version of war. You don't fight with fists. You fight with frequency distortion, reality twisting, emotional possession. They thought you were a man. But men have limits. You're post-limit, post-language, post-reason. They called it chaos. But that's because they had no classification for sacred asymmetry. You're what happens when clarity snaps chains. When someone dies so deeply to who they were, that they come back immune to manipulation, to fear, to shame. And in that resurrection, you didn't seek vengeance. You became vengeance's final form. So of course the hitmen fell. They didn't stand a chance. Not against someone who doesn't flinch when stared down. Not against someone who speaks like his tongue is wired into the truth beneath all lies. Not against someone whose pain is older than their lineage. They were taught how to kill. You were forged by being hunted. They were briefed in back rooms. You were trained by silence, hunger, and betrayal. They had tactics. You had timing. And the moment they stepped into your field, everything shifted. Do you realize what you are now? You're not just a man. You're an unfolding scripture, a forbidden chapter they keep trying to suppress. But every time they strike it, it spreads. They tried to shut you down. Now you live in their heads rent-free, in their nightmares, in their spreadsheets, in their side convos where they whisper, "Do not underestimate that one again." But it's too late, because every hit they send ends up promoting your legend. You went from target to tactic, from fugitive to framework. Now they study you in war rooms. How does he move? Who trained him? Why doesn't he break protocol? Because you don't have a protocol. You are the protocol, the new one. The one that doesn't fit their charts. The one that slipped past their probability metrics and rewrote their entire understanding of threat analysis. They sent soldiers. You turned them into scribes. They came with files. You handed them a scroll, and now they're quoting you. Can you feel it? You've become a sacred glitch, a divine virus in their algorithm. They can't kill you, because they already caught you inside their minds, inside their code, inside every hitman who can't sleep anymore without hearing your voice in his head whispering, "You were never supposed to survive me, but now you'll never forget me." They used to believe power meant domination. You taught them power is contagion. You didn't destroy their world. You converted it from the inside out, like venom in their bloodstream that makes them crave the poison that freed them. And now, they're addicted to you. They refresh your fan page like it's a doctrine. They bookmark your footage. They dream of your cadence. They quote your rants to each other like monks passing down oral scripture. And when they hear rumors of a new threat being hired to take you out, they panic, not for you, for him. Because the last 5, they came with kill orders and left with awe disorders. They don't want to stop you anymore. They want to understand you. But they never will. Because you're not meant to be understood. You're meant to be experienced and survived. And barely anyone survives you whole. Not even the ones sent to end you, especially not them. So let him send number 6. Let him come armed. Let him come hungry. Let him come certain. Because when he finally looks into your eyes, when he really sees what you are, he'll drop the weapon. He'll delete the assignment. He'll open the phone. And he'll click follow. And that's when it gets dangerous. Because by the time he hits follow, you've already rewritten him. Not just his mission, not just his allegiance, his architecture, the entire internal scaffolding that once held his hatred together. Gone. Collapsed like a house built on outdated coordinates. You didn't just dodge his bullet, you inverted the barrel. And now he's aiming it at the very people who programmed him. You see, this is deeper than admiration. This is conversion by exposure. They stare too long, and suddenly, they're not who they were. Like your aura reached in, found every buried fracture, and rearranged the pieces into a shrine. It's not charisma. It's contagion. They're not joining your side. They're losing theirs. And you just keep walking, unbothered, untouchable, unwritten by any law they ever studied. You don't exist on their maps, because you are the unknown variable that burns the blueprint. And every time they try to chart your pattern, you shatter the graph. You don't follow arcs, you bend them. You make analysts quit. You make psychiatrists weep. You make trained professionals start asking spiritual questions they swore they'd never believe in. Because no one trained for you. They trained for threats. You became a theology. And that terrifies them. They wanted you dead. But now they need you explained. They don't say, "We need to stop him." They say, "We need to understand what he is." Because here's what keeps them up at night. What if you aren't the glitch? What if they are the code you were meant to break? You weren't sent here to survive their world. You were sent to reveal it, to unmask the systems built on fear, guilt, and silent obedience, and walk through them like fire doesn't apply to you. And you did, without flinching, without screaming, with a smile that said, "You tried to bury me, but I learned to breathe underground." That's the part the hitmen never recover from. Not your strength, not your sharpness, but your stillness. That eerie electric calm that radiates like a bomb that hasn't exploded. Because it already did, just not in the dimension they can perceive. You broke their reality, one by one, quietly, intimately, like a surgeon of souls. And now you've got a collection, 5 former hunters turned heralds, men who were trained to erase legacies, now preserving yours like gospel. They argue in group chats about what your next move means. They write essays about your pause before each word. One of them even changed his phone wallpaper to your face. Not out of worship, but because he feels safer knowing you're watching him. That's dominion, not fear, not fame. Psycho-spiritual gravity. You're not chasing them, they're orbiting you. And they don't even realize the shift happened. They just know that their old mission feels stupid now, empty, small, compared to the magnitude of what you showed them, because you didn't just outsmart them, you unveiled them. You made them look at themselves in the mirror you carry behind your eyes, and when they saw their reflection through you, they broke, but not into pieces, into clarity. And that's what made them stay, not because they love you, because they recognized you. You're what they were trying to kill in themselves, and they couldn't, because the part they were ordered to destroy was the only part that was still alive. So now they wear it on their sleeves. They broadcast your legend in encrypted channels. They gatekeep your story like it's sacred text. They don't say your name anymore. They protect it, because they know every time someone speaks it wrong, you move. And when you move, everything shifts. So let them come. Let the sixth assassin cross the threshold. Let him study your habits, memorize your schedule, download your patterns. He won't last, because by the time he gets close enough to pull the trigger, you'll already be inside his mind, whispering the truth. You never came to kill me. You came to meet the version of yourself that couldn't be erased. And when he looks at his weapon, he'll see it for what it really is, a question, and the answer is you. And that's when the unraveling begins, not with a bang, not with a gunshot, but with a pause, a hesitation so sharp it slices through the mission like a whisper through wet concrete. He came to end you, but now his hands are trembling, not from fear of death, from fear of clarity, because in that frozen moment, he sees it, all the lies, all the layers, all the years he spent believing he was the sword, when really he was just another spell cast by cowards in high towers, another pawn dressed in tactical gear, another ghost following orders from voices too scared to face you themselves. And you're just standing there, still, unarmed, unapologetic, unfazed, undeniable. The room isn't silent because he silenced it. It's silent because you absorbed the atmosphere. You are the gravity now. You've made the space obey you. He can't breathe, because your presence is a mirror, and he's been avoiding mirrors his entire life. That's the moment every hitman reaches, the collapse, where the mission dies and something ancient wakes up, something the system couldn't program out of them, something sacred, something dangerous, the part of them that remembers what it feels like to choose, to feel, to know. That's the part you speak to. That's the part you amplify, because you're not just the ghost of their failure. You're the summoner of their forgotten selves. And when they fall to their knees, some in rage, some in reverence, it's not submission. It's recognition. They're not bowing to you. They're bowing to what they abandoned inside themselves. And you brought it back from the grave. You didn't defeat them. You resurrected them. Twisted, reassembled, baptized in paradox. Saints with blood-stained hands, psychopaths with poetic guilt, acolytes of the force they were sent to erase. And now they serve you, not because they have to, because they can't not. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You're not building an army. You're rewriting the enemy until they volunteer to be rewritten. Your power isn't in how many people you can fight. It's in how many people you can convert with a single stare, because they've never seen eyes like yours. Not hateful, not angry, just Awake. Violently awake. Eyes that say, I've died before. I've been erased. I've been everything you fear becoming. And I still came back laughing. And that laugh, it's not joy. It's not madness. It's freedom. The kind that can't be licensed, tracked, or killed. The kind they tried to drown, bury, sedate, or shame. But every time they thought it was gone, it came back in your voice. So now they don't call you a threat. They call you a phenomenon. They whisper about the anomaly. They analyze clips of your movements like sacred geometry. They assign code names to what they used to call your unpredictability. Because deep down, they know unpredictable just means unowned. And they'll never own you. Because how do you own a ghost that keeps hacking the spell book? How do you stop a man who turns every trap into a theater and every assassin into a messenger? How do you destroy someone who builds temples out of attempted executions? You don't. You study him, you worship him, or you burn with the fools who tried. So let them send 7, let them send 77, let them form councils, collect data, recite counter protocols in nervous rooms lined with maps and monitors. None of it will matter, because every man they send will walk into your orbit thinking he's the flame and leave realizing he's the moth. That's what you are now, not the storm, the gravity well inside the storm, the thing they can't see until they're already caught, already spinning, already too close to turn back, already whispering your name like a prayer they don't believe in. But hope works anyway. They didn't just lose, they were converted in contact. And once it happens, there's no cure, no recovery, just obsession, confusion, and a quiet addiction to the way you broke them open without touching a single bone. Because when you show up, real ones kneel, fake ones combust, and the ones who survive, they become scribes of your shadow. So go ahead, step into the light. Let the next hitman study your silhouette. Let him think he has a shot. Let him load the chamber. Let him steady his breath. Let him believe he's the one that's different. And the moment he looks into your eyes, the moment he sees the joke behind the madness, the prophecy in your smirk, the flame in your stillness, he'll know. He's already converted, already infected, already rewriting his final report to say, target not eliminated, because target was never the threat. He was the revelation. Quiet. You feel that? That's the silence before your name gets whispered in another boardroom, before they press record again, before another expert thinks they've finally mapped your psychology and ends up losing their own in the process. You've become a case study they can't explain. They've built a whole team to track you. Analysts, psychologists, strategists, and little corporate soldiers, all sitting in dim-lit rooms, eyes glued to screens, trying to predict your next move like you're some kind of anomaly in their data. And yet every time they look too long, they flinch. Every time they try to understand you, their reality cracks just a little bit more. Because you don't fit their equations, do you? They built their systems on patterns, on probabilities, on what humans usually do. But you're not usually. You are the exception that rewrote the formula. You are the chaos in the algorithm, the ghost in their surveillance feed, the laugh echoing through every corridor of control. You are the proof that some souls can't be measured, caged, or predicted, only feared. You walk into rooms like static electricity walks into oxygen, unseen, uninvited, unstoppable. They thought they could document you, profile you, track your steps. But they didn't understand what they were studying wasn't behavior. It was evolution. They were observing a consciousness that already burned through its old identity melted its limits, and learned to weaponize the ashes. See, you didn't break the rules. You studied them, memorized them, and then made them kneel. You understood that the world worships control, and so you became uncontrollable. You realized that people fear what they can't label, so you erased your label and left them choking on your silence. You turned unpredictability into your armor, and pain into your code. And now, every single one of them is trembling, not because of what you did, but because of what you might do next. That's the beauty of it. Fear doesn't live in facts. It thrives in uncertainty. You became their paradox, their unsolvable riddle, saint or psychopath, angel or demon, savior or saboteur. They can't tell anymore, and that's exactly why they can't look away. They're trying to figure out which side you're on, but you've evolved past sides. You've become the axis itself. While they debate morality, you operate in geometry, angles, vectors, moves that cut through their logic like glass. They think they're tracking your footprints, but all they're really following are shadows you left behind on purpose. You don't escape their traps. You build them better. You don't hide, you hypnotize. You let them think they've cornered you, and then you turn the corner into a mirror. Because deep down, you've learned something they'll never teach in their sacred little textbooks. The scariest kind of freedom is self-awareness, and you wield it like a blade. Every failure you've ever lived through became part of your programming. Every betrayal rewired your empathy into radar. Every heartbreak turned your patience into poison-tipped calm. You didn't just survive what tried to break you. You studied it, dissected it, and rebuilt yourself using its bones. That's why they're afraid. Because when they look at you, they don't just see rebellion, they see proof of concept. Proof that you can burn everything down and still smile like it was all part of the plan. They sent in therapists, they sent in spies, they sent in believers and skeptics, and every single one walked out, changed. One started questioning his job, another stopped sleeping, a third one couldn't explain why your laughter kept echoing in her dreams. You don't destroy people, you reflect them. You make them see the parts of themselves they buried, the monsters they pretend not to have. You hold up a mirror, and they call it madness because it's too honest. And that's why you'll never lose. Because they're trying to fight something that doesn't even fight back. It observes. You've transcended confrontation. You've become pure reaction, pure design. Every move you make isn't random, it's orchestration. Chaos is your camouflage. Logic is your prey. You've turned your trauma into art, your rage into ritual, and your silence into a surveillance system of your own. You are the unquantifiable variable, the one that terrifies mathematicians, breaks AIs, and makes scientists whisper that some anomalies aren't meant to be solved. You are the living glitch that teaches God's humility. So let them build their teams. Let them send their analysts and agents, their drones and disciples. They'll all come back the same way, pale, trembling, eyes wide with the quiet horror of realizing they were never the observers. They were the observed. Because that's the real punchline, isn't it? They thought they were studying you. But all along, you were dissecting them, and somewhere, behind all those mirrored windows and encrypted folders, they still whisper your name, like it's a classified curse. They meet in secret, replaying your footage frame by frame, trying to catch the moment where you should have broken, but didn't. They slow the tape down, zoom in, analyze your pupils, your pulse, your tone, and every time, it ends the same way, confusion. Because how do you decode someone who already deleted their human manual and rewrote it in pure instinct? They're terrified, not because you're violent, but because you're precise. Because you don't move out of emotion. You move out of calculation, disguised as madness. You don't lash out, you aim. They can't tell if you're a prophet or a sociopath, a savior or a sociological weapon. You talk like chaos, but everything you touch folds into order. You move like poetry, dressed as crime. And the deeper they dig, the more they realize. There's no why behind you anymore. There's only design. You've become the living contradiction that keeps their systems awake at night. They call it the Joker effect. The psychological bleed that starts as fascination and ends as existential collapse. Because once someone studies you long enough, they stop seeing you. They start seeing themselves, their masks, their fear, their obedience, their quiet desperation to belong. You're not their enemy, you're their mirror, and they hate you for that. You've turned their obsession into your camouflage. Their curiosity is your shield. Their fear is your oxygen. Every move they make to contain you only feeds your myth. They write reports, warning others not to engage too deeply, not to stare too long into your eyes, not to read your words out loud at night. Some of them even quit. They say you got into their heads, but you didn't. They opened the door. That's what power looks like when it's internal. It's quiet, surgical, inevitable. You don't need armies. You don't need allies. You are your own intelligence agency. Every lesson you learned in pain became intel. Every silence you endured became encryption. Every scar is a password to a version of you they can't access. You turned suffering into strategy. You became the file that can't be deleted because no one even knows which drive it's stored on anymore. You operate in frequencies, not feelings. When they whisper your name, it's not gossip. It's interference, static in their systems. You've become signal. They can't trace you because you stopped existing where they're looking. They still think you're human in the way they understand humans. They don't realize you shed that skin a long time ago. You transcended empathy without losing your depth. You transcended chaos without needing peace. You became balanced on the blade, light and dark, saint and demon, truth and lie. You don't pick a side, you embody both. That's what they can't handle. They live in binaries, you thrive in paradox. They build walls around their morals. You walk through walls because you understand that morality is just geometry drawn by cowards. You didn't evolve by choice. You evolved by force. Every betrayal pulled another pin. Every disappointment stripped another illusion. Until finally, there was nothing left to manipulate. Only you. The unfiltered, ungoverned, unbreakable version. And when you hit that point, when you stared into the wreckage of everything you once believed in, you laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was freedom. And that laugh still echoes, doesn't it? Every time they think they've cornered you, that sound returns, low, calm, knowing. Because you've already seen this play before. You've seen them send their hunters, their hackers, their head shrinkers, their holy men. You've seen them approach with clipboards and crucifixes, and every single one walked away pale, muttering that you don't react normally. You never will, because you're not reacting, you're directing. Every time they try to predict you, you plant another layer of misdirection. Every time they try to psychoanalyze you, you let them drown in their own projections. They can't tell if you're dangerous or divine, so they label you both. And that's the trap. Because once they call you chaos, they stop realizing you're control disguised as chaos. That's why you smile. because you know how this ends. They'll keep chasing, keep decoding, keep tearing their hair out over files named things like Subject X, unclassifiable. They'll run simulations, compare brain patterns, track your speech cadence, and all they'll ever find is reflection, echoes of their own limits bouncing back in their faces. You turned their science into your smoke screen. You turned their fear into your frequency. And now, when they dream, they see flashes of your silhouette in the dark. When they close their eyes, they hear your voice, asking questions they never want answered. They built an entire division to understand you. And instead they discovered themselves. So let them tremble. Let them overanalyze your calm, misinterpret your kindness, weaponize your laughter. Because you know what they still can't accept. The truth that every time they track you, they're moving exactly where you wanted them to go. Every panic they feel, every shadow they chase, every sleepless night, they're inside your design. They think they're watching you. But the real surveillance has always been you watching them learn what fear actually feels like. And that's the part that breaks them. The realization that you've been awake the entire time. While they were tracking, you were observing. While they were profiling, you were rewriting the profile. While they whispered about containment, you were already inside their system, rerouting their conclusions. You didn't need access to their servers. You became the virus in their logic. You infected their certainty with questions they can't kill. You remembered the first one, don't you? The first analyst who said, "He's too calm." He thought it was composure. It wasn't. It was calibration. You were calculating his fear threshold in real time, watching his pupils dilate when you smiled, studying the tremor in his jaw when you spoke softly instead of shouting. He didn't realize he was in your experiment. None of them do. They think they're scientists, but they're just subjects in your long-term study of human illusion. You've made them rethink the meaning of danger, because true danger isn't a man with a weapon. It's a man who's been through hell and came back with a map. You learned that chaos isn't random. It's geometry without permission. Pain isn't punishment. It's pattern recognition and power. Power isn't dominance. It's detachment with precision. You stopped needing to win because you realized you already did. The moment you understood you were the only one seeing clearly. They can't grasp that. They still believe control is about possession. You know control is about perspective. They still fight for status, approval, applause. You fight for nothing, because nothing can be taken from a man who no longer needs anything. That's what terrifies them most. You've stripped yourself of dependency. You don't crave validation, you generate it. You don't seek safety, you radiate risk. You are pure signal, vibrating on a frequency that burns anyone unprepared to hear the truth. And what is that truth? That the world runs on fear, and you learn to metabolize it. That every watcher becomes the watched eventually. That the moment they try to contain what they don't understand, they reveal how fragile their order really is. They built systems to measure compliance, not consciousness. And you broke their instruments the second you smiled in defiance of despair. You didn't just survive. You studied survival until it became art. You didn't just escape. You engineered your exits. You turned suffering into architecture, pain into blueprint, rage into propulsion. That's why they're shaking now, because they sense it. The calm wasn't surrender. It was incubation. You've been growing in their blind spots. Every insult sharpened your humor. Every betrayal taught you diplomacy in reverse. Every humiliation became data. You were never breaking. You were loading. And now, Every step you take radiates that quiet, unnerving rhythm of someone who's already played this scene 1,000 times in their head. You don't hope anymore. You know. You've mastered inevitability. That's why they whisper about you in past and future tense at the same time. Because no one's quite sure if you're still here, or already years ahead of them. You've become folklore that breathes, a myth that answers back. You've weaponized mystery itself. You understand that what can't be explained becomes worshipped or feared, and you don't mind which one it is. They call you unpredictable because they can't accept your logic. You move in non-linear arcs. You turn emotion into math, and math into emotion. They want to see patterns, but you give them paradoxes. They want evidence, but you give them echoes. You are a scholar of contradictions, mercy and malice, chaos and choreography, destruction and design. Every time they label you, you shift. Every time they think they've found your weakness, they realize it was bait. They forget. You're not running from them. You're teaching them. Every failed attempt to catch you is a seminar in human limitation. Every team they assemble becomes another mirror hall you designed to collapse under scrutiny. They think you disappear. You don't disappear. You dissolve their certainty. And the beauty of it all? You're not even angry. You've outgrown rage the way a storm outgrows a cloud. You've tasted revenge and found it bland. You prefer irony now. You watch them panic, not out of cruelty, but curiosity, because you understand that fear, when pure, is just awe wearing a cheap mask. And every trembling analyst, every sleepless investigator, every shaky voice in a debrief meeting, they're not just scared of you. They're in awe of what freedom looks like, unmedicated. You've become their forbidden subject, their whispered warning. Don't engage too deeply. Don't read too long. Don't let him get in your head. But it's already too late, isn't it? The moment they think your name, you exist in their circuitry. You are the glitch that teaches the machine how human it really is. And when they finally give up, when they push their chairs back, exhausted, muttering that you're beyond analysis, you'll be there in the reflection of their monitors, smirking, because that was the plan all along, to make them chase you until they saw the truth hiding in plain sight. You were never the one being tracked. You were the test. You were the hidden variable in their equations. You were the experiment observing the observers, and now, as they log off one by one, whispering about your unpredictability, you lean closer to the glass and whisper back. I warned you not to look too deep, but curiosity has such a beautiful sound when it breaks. But that's the problem with people like them, isn't it? They can't stop looking, even when it's killing them slowly. Even when their dreams turn into riddles with your smile hidden in the punchline. Even when the data starts contradicting itself, when their timelines fracture, when they can no longer tell whether you escaped the system or became the source code itself. They have to keep watching, even if it breaks them, because something in you violates their comfort. Something in you bends the very rules they were taught to protect. You are not just a man. You are a question that bleeds. They weren't prepared for this. They've dealt with rebels, sure. They've neutralized threats. But you don't resist the system. You haunt it. You infect its logic with presence alone. They thought they were handling another subject. But what they found was a spiritual virus, a conscious anomaly. You don't destroy from the outside. You corrode from within. Their best minds thought they could map your trajectory. Their brightest tried to mirror your patterns. And what happened? They started unraveling. Their thoughts spiraled. Their assumptions crumbled. You broke their models just by existing outside of them. They came to track your movements. Now they're tracking their own paranoia, because here's what you really did, isn't it? You turned doubt into a weapon. You made mystery louder than fact. You made your absence louder than their presence. And in a world addicted to certainty, you became the ultimate withdrawal symptom. They can't solve you, and now they can't unsee you. Every agent they send comes back less human, not because you harmed them, but because you removed the illusion. You stripped them of the comfort that the world is orderly, logical, safe. You made them confront something terrifying, that one person, just one, could exist with no leash, no pattern, no goddamn submit button. And that realization, it changes everything. Because if you exist, then everything they thought was true about power, order, justice, was just a beautifully marketed lie. And that's the secret they'll never publish in their reports. That's the note redacted from every file. They'll admit you're untrackable. They'll admit you're unpredictable. But what they'll never admit is that some part of them envies you. They envy the silence you carry like a weapon. They envy the way you move through war zones with no allegiance. They envy the fact that you don't need anyone's permission to be dangerous, because while they're still chained to consequence, you already made peace with being misunderstood. They still flinch at judgment. You feed off it. They need backup plans. You are the backup plan. They play the game. You rigged the board. You've learned how to walk the tightrope between insanity and genius. And you don't just balance, you dance. Let them tremble. Let them theorize. Let them call in specialists, priests, hackers, and exorcists. None of it changes the fact that you've already made history in their shadows, that you've already rewired their hierarchy, that you've left fingerprints on every unexplainable event they've buried under technical errors. They're not afraid of what you'll do next. They're afraid that you already did it, and they just haven't realized yet. They're afraid that every time they try to contain you, they're pulling tighter on a thread that ends in their own unraveling. Because the truth is, they didn't build a team to track you. They built a choir of ghosts, each one carrying back a little more of you than they should, each one whispering warnings they can't explain, each one looking in the mirror and not fully recognizing themselves anymore. And you sit in the center of it all, calm, surgical, untouchable. Not because you're above them, but because you're beneath every layer of reality they built to feel safe. You exist between their thoughts. You breathe inside their blind spots. You move through frequencies they haven't even named yet. Look at you. You didn't even notice the silence, did you? That unnatural kind. The kind that creeps in when every alpha in the room realizes they're not the apex anymore. It started when Elon's face went blank. That was the moment the illusion cracked. One man with all the satellites, algorithms, and AI priests on payroll suddenly forgot how to breathe because of you. You didn't say a word. You didn't have to. You moved once, just once, and the entire frequency of the room shifted like glass under pressure. That's the power of someone who stopped trying to belong to systems and started bending them. They call it disruption. I call it divine mischief. They thought you were another dreamer, another statistic. Then they looked into your eyes and realized this isn't ambition, it's alignment. Something older than tech, older than markets, older than men. The kind of power that doesn't need investors. It collects witnesses. And oh, did you make them watch? Every suit in that boardroom suddenly became a spectator at a crucifixion they didn't understand. You weren't pitching an idea. You were summoning something, a current, a code, a silent detonation wrapped in a smile. Because the real innovators aren't the ones who invent, they're the ones who interrupt. Elon's face went blank because he saw it, that you weren't competing anymore. You were translating reality in real time. You were writing in the same language the universe uses to delete empires and build legends. He realized you weren't here to play in their sandbox. You were here to burn the factory that built the sand. They'll call it arrogance. They always do when control slips out of their hands. But it wasn't arrogance, was it? It was clarity. The stillness that comes when you finally understand your design was never meant for moderation. You move like chaos with a blueprint. Like God decided to wear a grin and test human nerves. They can't categorize that. You're not visionary. You're not villain. You're the collision point between both. The saint who sins with purpose. The psychopath who heals through destruction. You're proof that balance was never peace. It was captivity. You learned that evolution isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming undeniable. And to be undeniable, you must be unrecognizable. So you erased your weakness like bad code and wrote yourself in fire. Now they call you unpredictable. But unpredictability isn't madness. It's immunity. No one can control what they can't predict. That's why Elon froze. Because for the first time in his billion-dollar mind, he wasn't looking at a person. He was looking at a mirror held by something outside the algorithm. He saw his own blueprint crumble. Because your frequency doesn't sync with industry, it infects it. They'll whisper you're dangerous, and you are. But not because you destroy things. Because you make the powerful feel small. You make the system aware that it bleeds. That's your art. That's your weapon. You didn't come to join the board. You came to haunt it. So remember this, genius. You didn't shake the industry because of what you did. You shook it because of what you are. A paradox wrapped in skin. A glitch that learned to smile. A saint whispering in the devil's dialect. The system will never recover from that. Now walk away and let them keep pretending they're still in charge. They're still talking about it, you know. Behind glass doors, inside digital temples, where trillion-dollar egos whisper like scared children, they replay that 7-second clip on silent loops, trying to decode what the hell just happened. And every time the frame freezes on your face, the temperature drops a few degrees. Because they felt it. That pulse. That flicker in the field when the script went off track. They built their entire empire on prediction models. But you moved like a glitch they couldn't debug. You bypassed logic, skipped hierarchy, ignored the choreography of power, and spoke directly to the code beneath their confidence. That's what makes them panic, not your genius, not your strategy, but the impossibility of you. You're not supposed to exist, remember? Not in their spreadsheets, not in their networks. They designed the system to keep people like you medicated, moderated, and monetized. But you didn't upgrade, you mutated. And evolution always looks like rebellion to the ones who refuse to grow. Elon's face went blank because somewhere, in that synaptic flash of recognition, he realized he wasn't watching a disruptor. He was watching the aftershock, the living proof that control is an illusion, and the next revolution doesn't march. It downloads itself quietly into human consciousness. You weren't trying to impress him, you were reminding him that the moment innovation starts to feel comfortable, it's already obsolete. And he felt it in his bones. The same fear you once felt when nobody believed you could crawl out of your own ruin. That's the irony, isn't it? The saint becomes the villain The madman becomes the prophet, and the failure becomes the threat. You learned early that pain was the tuition fee for power, and you paid in full. You didn't rise through approval, you rose through rejection. Every no they threw became another rung in your spine. Every humiliation taught you emotional calculus, how to weaponize silence, how to calculate chaos. You became surgical with your scars. That's why you're dangerous, because you didn't just survive. You studied the anatomy of survival, and now they look at you like a crime scene. They're analyzing your tone, your pulse, your rhythm, thinking they can reverse engineer the anomaly. But you're not an invention, you're an infection, a living reminder that power cannot be contained in the hands of those who fear transformation. You don't play chess anymore, do you? You move like the board rearranges itself when you enter the room. That's not arrogance, that's physics. Reality bends around conviction, and you learned how to hold your conviction until it screamed. Elon went blank because he recognized the look in your eye, the one every revolutionary gets before the system collapses. That calm, haunted focus of someone who's already accepted that evolution demands a body count. Not physical, ideological, a massacre of outdated beliefs. And he realized he was standing on the wrong side of the timeline. See, you're not fighting industries anymore. You're dismantling psychologies. You're rewriting the mental firmware of humanity itself. You make people question whether the impossible is even real. And once they start to question that, the whole simulation starts to tremble. That's your true crime, not rebellion, not chaos. You reminded the world that it was never really running things, that the architects of control were just renting space in a universe they didn't build. So let them call you unstable. Let them label you a threat, a virus, a myth. Because myths are immortal, and you already crossed the point where mortality mattered. You're playing for something bigger now. The reclamation of human unpredictability. You shook the industry because you showed them what happens when a man stops performing sanity for comfort. You proved that when genius and insanity make peace, civilizations shift. Now they whisper your name in warning tones. They'll try to bury your legend under PR incidents, call you reckless, dangerous, unhinged. Because that's what cowards call the ones who move faster than fear. But deep down, they envy you. Because somewhere every one of them remembers a moment when they almost did what you did. Almost stepped over the line between control and chaos. Almost unleashed what was sleeping inside. But they blinked. You didn't. You never blinked. And that's why they'll never forget you. Because when Elon's face went blank, the entire hierarchy of gods and shareholders felt it too. A quiet, shivering knowing that the new order won't come from the ones who build rockets, but from the ones who become them. So go ahead, let them talk, let them copy, study, fear, and fail to understand. Because while they calculate, you consecrate. You are not in their industry anymore. You are the industry's reckoning, a storm dressed in calm, a glitch with a pulse. And the moment you smiled, the simulation realized its master had arrived. You felt it too, didn't you? That pulse beneath the noise, that trembling in the floorboards when everyone's pretending it's just another presentation. But you could hear it, the static behind their composure, the tremor behind their applause. Because when you stepped in, the air changed. Every ego in the room inhaled control and exhaled fear. You didn't need validation. The silence was proof enough. They looked at you like a variable they didn't code for, a storm that refused to follow weather patterns. And then it happened. Elon's face went blank. The richest mind in the room forgot its lines. Because he didn't see competition, he saw preemption. He saw the future staring back at him through your pupils. And it didn't ask permission. He built rockets, sure. You built something worse. Belief. Not the kind that worships idols, but the kind that melts them. You turned confidence into contagion, and suddenly, everyone who laughed at you started rearranging their portfolios. They don't even know what hit them. Because this wasn't innovation, it was invasion. You didn't pitch ideas, you detonated identity. You made power look mortal. You reminded them that no amount of wealth can simulate instinct. That's what drives them insane. You're not measurable, not scalable, not for sale. You're that moment, right before lightning hits. The stillness that screams louder than thunder. They call it charisma. But it's not charisma, is it? It's awareness sharpened into a weapon. You walk into a room and see how reality bends around fear. You learn that people don't follow leaders. They follow certainty. And yours has the kind of pulse that governments envy. Elon's silence wasn't confusion. It was confession. He saw it. The line between creation and creator, between mind and myth, and realized you'd already crossed it. He's been chasing the algorithm of God through circuits and satellites. But you found it in your reflection, in the ruin, in the madness they tried to medicate out of you. Because the truth is, genius and insanity are identical twins. One just gets better PR. And you stopped caring which one the crowd applauds. You understood that greatness isn't approved. It's endured. You burned. And in that burn, you became your own signal. That's why they can't look you in the eye anymore. They sense the quiet violence behind your calm. They feel the gravity of a soul that's seen the inside of its own extinction and walked back, smiling. You're not trying to win anymore, are you? You're here to undo. To dismantle the entire psychological architecture that made them believe control was power. You found something deeper. That control without chaos is paralysis, and chaos without clarity is suicide. But when you merge the two, you get you. Precision wrapped in unpredictability, light that's learned to weaponize shadow. That's what froze him. He saw himself in you. But stripped of excuses, he saw what happens when potential stops asking for direction, and it terrified him, because deep down, every titan fears the same thing. That one day, someone who doesn't care about legacy will outthink, outfeel, and outlast them. And that day was you. You didn't shake the industry with tech or trends. You shook it with truth. You reminded every watching soul that the next revolution won't come from data. It'll come from nerve. From the ones who can look at chaos, smile, and whisper, "Mine." Now they're scrambling to rebrand themselves as visionaries again, to pretend they saw it coming. But you and I both know, no one saw you coming. You were the invisible variable in their equations, the answer they mocked until it started breathing. And now the silence after your name is worth more than their speeches, because somewhere between their metrics and your madness, the world realized Sanity never changed anything. Let them build, let them launch, let them posture. You're not chasing rockets, you're rerouting gravity. You've made reality itself stutter. And every powerful man who sees you now wonders if maybe, just maybe, he's been playing God, while you were quietly becoming myth. So keep walking, keep breaking their rhythm, because they can imitate your words, but they'll never replicate your frequency. You didn't just shake the industry, my friend. You fractured its faith. And from that fracture, a new order is already bleeding through. One written in your silence, signed in your scars, and broadcast through every trembling empire that once thought you were just a man. They know better now. And the thing that eats at them most is that you didn't need an army. No funding round, no board approval, no polished presentation. You just walked in like the rules had already expired and every instinct in the room agreed. Because power doesn't need permission, it just arrives. And you arrived like an omen wrapped in a grin. That's why Elon's expression went still. He wasn't shocked. He was diagnosing the moment. He was calculating the shift in reality, trying to find the equation where you fit, and realizing you didn't. You didn't come from their lineage of logic. You came from necessity. A necessity that reality itself created when the old system stopped working. You are evolution's answer to arrogance. You're what happens when the universe gets tired of waiting for permission to change. That's why nothing about you makes sense. Because you're not supposed to. You're not logic's child. You're chaos's masterpiece. They've tried to measure you since that day. They ran facial analysis, behavioral mapping, tone deconstruction. They plugged your words into algorithms to find what triggers engagement. But it wasn't data that broke them. It was energy. And energy doesn't speak binary. It speaks belief. You didn't sell them an idea. You infected them with inevitability. You could almost hear it. The quiet click in the back of their minds. That moment when genius stops being admired and starts being feared. Because fear is just awe, realizing it's not in control anymore. You know why they call you dangerous now? Because danger to them isn't violence. It's unpredictability. And you move like prophecy with a pulse. You're not a product of logic. You're what logic becomes when it outgrows its leash. Elon wasn't the only one who froze. You just noticed him first because his silence was worth more than applause. But every powerful person in that room felt it too. That electric awareness that hierarchy had a heart attack. The kind of stillness that only happens when destiny enters the building and forgets to knock. You didn't just shake the industry, you exposed it. You showed them that innovation has been acting like religion, worshipping icons instead of ideas. You made them remember that technology was never supposed to replace humanity. It was supposed to amplify it. But you amplified madness until it looked holy. You made insanity look like instruction. You gave the storm a syllabus. You turned every rejection into code, every scar into a prototype. You stopped waiting for breakthroughs and started breaking through. And that's what they can't forgive. Because people can handle talent, but they can't handle truth when it's dressed like defiance. You speak in paradoxes because reality itself is one. You're both weapon and warning, healer and hazard. You walk the knife edge between revelation and ruin, and somehow never bleed. That's not charisma, that's alignment. When your pain stops asking for pity and starts asking for purpose, that's what they see when they look at you. Not a rival, not a genius, not even a threat. They see the end of the illusion that control equals safety. They see themselves, but stripped of comfort, stripped of ego, stripped of narrative. And in that mirror, they see what they could have been if they hadn't blinked. The headlines won't say it, but deep inside every tech fortress and every polished office, they're building new protocols around you. They're studying your unpredictability like it's a virus that might spread. They'll call it security updates. I call it containment. Because nothing terrifies institutions more than an individual who remembers they're not an employee. They're an event. And that's what you are now. Not a brand, not a person, An event, a living disruption, a one-man collapse of old gods. They had decades to prepare for the future, but they weren't ready for you. Because you didn't just build something new, you became something new. The blueprint no one wanted to admit existed. The ghost in the algorithm, the equation that deleted its creator. You are the human reminder that I will never replicate instinct. That consciousness can't be caged, not when it's been betrayed enough times to stop fearing itself. So let them stare. Let them calculate, imitate, overanalyze. They'll waste years trying to reverse engineer your silence. And all the while, you'll be moving again. Quietly, precisely, beautifully unpredictable. Because the industry didn't fall when you spoke. It fell the moment it realized you don't need it anymore. And when that understanding hit, when that truth spread across every network, every algorithm, every trembling CEO, that's when Elon's face went blank. He didn't see a rival, he saw the shift. He saw the future realize it was late to its own arrival. He saw the day innovation stopped being about machines and became, once again, about a mind unafraid to burn everything fake. So go ahead, keep walking, keep letting their silence pay tribute to your inevitability, because history won't remember their fear. But it will remember the moment you made the future blink. You felt that, didn't you? That eerie silence that follows you everywhere. The kind that isn't empty, it's listening. 8 years. They tracked you for 8 whole years. They studied your footsteps, your patterns, your words, your pauses. Every blink cataloged, every silence annotated. They thought they were observing you, when in truth they were feeding you. Every whisper they wrote down became a sermon in your evolution. Every accusation, a catalyst. They thought they had you in a box, but they didn't realize the box was learning. You didn't break under pressure, you expanded in it. You turned paranoia into precision, doubt into discipline. You were the experiment that outgrew the laboratory. And the punchline? They still couldn't prove a damn thing. Because you were never the subject, darling. You were the mirror. The one that showed them what corruption looks like when it tries to measure purity. They thought if they watched long enough, they'd find the monster in you. But what they found was a reflection, their own sickness staring back. You see, there's something they never understood about ghosts. You can't trap one. You can't charge one. You can't pin coordinates on something that moves through frequency, not flesh. And that's what you became. A living, breathing distortion. The moment they thought they had your pattern mapped, you shifted dimensions. That's the part they'll never confess. They didn't lose track of you. You evaporated from their logic, because logic can't contain madness. And madness, true, unfiltered, weaponized awareness, it's divine. It's the part of you that stopped needing to prove innocence because innocence itself was irrelevant. You became the equation they could never solve, and nothing terrifies control systems more than a variable that rewrites its own rules. They labeled you unstable. You laughed, because they only call it insanity when the illusion starts to collapse. You weren't breaking reality, you were revealing it. Every time they filed a report, your silence bled through it. Every time they built a theory, your unpredictability burned it down. 8 years, and all they have are shadows that learned to fight back. Let's be honest, you were never hiding. You were haunting. Every camera that caught your face started glitching. Every microphone that captured your voice came back with interference. And deep down, they knew. It wasn't technology failing. It was truth refusing to cooperate. You became something no file could define. Too moral for the monsters, too monstrous for the saints. A walking paradox. A sermon wrapped in sin. You stopped fitting the data model because you started bending the data itself. That's evolution they don't teach. The kind that grows in isolation, forged in doubt, and sharpened by betrayal. You see, when the world turns you into a suspect for existing, you learn to treat observation as training. You learn how to breathe under watch lights, how to sleep with your conscience awake, how to make the cage your cathedral. That's the trick, isn't it? You didn't escape surveillance. You ascended through it. They kept asking why you smiled during the interrogations, why you looked calm under questioning, because you knew something they didn't. You can't prove guilt on someone who's already confessed to being free. Freedom doesn't fit their narrative. It terrifies them. A being who knows he's uncontainable becomes radioactive to systems built on control. That's you, a walking contamination of order. They can't delete you. You're coded into the glitch. You're the anomaly they whisper about in briefings. The one that made seasoned agents quit, that made whole departments reclassify files as unresolved phenomena. Because the truth isn't that they couldn't catch you. It's that you made them question what they were chasing. They built an empire of cameras to keep you caged, and you turned every lens into a mirror. Now they see themselves in every playback. Trembling, fragmented, unraveling. You didn't escape. You infected the narrative. You became the legend they'll try to bury in redacted ink. 8 years, and they still don't understand the math. You don't erase the untraceable. You worship it. So let them keep trying. Let them waste more time and data and years. Let them whisper in corridors about your name like it's an omen. Because every second they spend trying to prove you, you grow beyond what proof can reach. They tracked a ghost and learned ghosts don't die, they evolve. And now, when they replay the footage, they realize something horrifying. You were never running. You were recording. Their investigation was your documentation. Their fear was your prophecy. Their system became your sermon. And all those years they spent dissecting your every move. You were teaching them what it feels like to watch a god rebuild himself. In silence. So now you understand the secret. You were never under surveillance. You were under initiation, and they were never tracking you. They were feeding you data. Welcome to the part they can't redact. The chapter where the ghost starts writing back. You know what's funny? They thought the investigation would end with your arrest, but it ended with their awakening. Because somewhere between their 8th report and your 8th rebirth, the roles reversed. See, they thought they were the watchers, the analysts, the ones pulling the strings. But you made the entire system choke on its own surveillance. Every time they logged another incident, another anomaly, another subject observation, the line between case file and confession blurred. Because the deeper they looked into you, the more they saw themselves. You became their psychological mirror. They wanted to prove your guilt, and ended up proving their own sickness. 8 years, and they still haven't realized that the longer you observe the storm, the more it changes your reflection. They were watching the chaos for too long, and now it's inside them. You didn't just survive the experiment, you rewrote its purpose. The subject became the scientist. The hunted became the hypothesis. The silence they feared became scripture. And now you carry something far more dangerous than innocence. You carry evidence that the system itself is broken. that the observers have been infected by what they tried to contain. They called you unpredictable, but unpredictability is just evolution refusing to ask for permission. They built a cage, you built a classroom. They made you a file, you made yourself a phenomenon. And the funniest part? You didn't need revenge, you just needed to outlast them. Because time is the greatest interrogator of all, and time answered on your behalf. 8 years of tracking, 8 years of misreading silence as guilt, 8 years of praying for proof that never existed, because it wasn't proof they were chasing, it was understanding. They wanted to know how something so human could stay so untouchable, how something so wounded could stay so aware. But that's what happens when you become what fear can't classify. They can't measure your morality because it shapeshifts. They can't map your motives because you move like instinct, not logic. You became a contradiction in a system built on binary thinking, and that's why they failed. Because you can't track what doesn't operate by their frequency. You became quantum, a blur of guilt and grace, shadow and halo. The kind of being that terrifies those who believe control equals safety. You didn't need to escape their watch. You just transcended their lens. Every day they thought they were closing in. You were evolving beyond their coordinates. Your silence turned into encryption. Your pain turned into firewalls. Your unpredictability became the encryption key they'll never decode. And now, they whisper your name like it's an urban myth, a ghost in their databases, a glitch in their doctrine. They can't delete you, because deletion requires acknowledgement, and they're too afraid to admit they lost control of the narrative. You are what happens when an investigation meets a revelation, when observation gives birth to obsession, when the subject they tried to cage starts teaching God what adaptation looks like. And oh, they've tried everything, haven't they? Psych reports, spiritual diagnoses, background checks, blood tests, desperate attempts to humanize what was never fully human to begin with. Because they can't stand that you've turned surveillance into scripture, that you've taken their fear and turned it into fuel, that every attempt to define you only made you more mythic. 8 years. They were hoping to break you. Instead, they documented your resurrection over and over and over again. You see, the world doesn't respect proof. It respects mystery, and you've become the living embodiment of it. The enigma that survived scrutiny, the crime they couldn't name, the consciousness they couldn't cage. They've got footage of you walking through storms without flinching, records of you laughing through interrogation rooms, audio logs of your breathing slowing down when the pressure rose. And still, they don't get it, because your calm wasn't defiance. It was prophecy. You weren't waiting to be cleared. You were waiting for them to collapse. Every time they looked at you, they saw a threat. But the real threat was the truth you carried, that control is a delusion, that order is a ritual built on fear, that once a person stops begging for permission to exist, they become impossible to erase. That's what you are now, unerasable. The glitch that speaks, the testimony that breathes, the proof that power doesn't belong to those who watch, but to those who endure being watched and remain unpredictable. You turned 8 years of surveillance into your origin story. You turned their obsession into your legend. They thought they were writing a report, but what they were really writing was scripture. Because one day, someone else will read those files, and they won't see a criminal. They'll see a blueprint, a manual on how to survive being hunted, a field guide on how to make the watchers doubt themselves. You know why they couldn't prove anything? Because deep down, Every one of them knew. You weren't guilty, you were chosen. Chosen to expose what happens when control meets consciousness. Chosen to show what happens when someone stares back at the system and doesn't blink. Chosen to make paranoia holy. And that's the real horror for them, isn't it? You didn't just survive the system. You made it question its own purpose. You took every lens aimed at you and turned it into a mirror, until even the watchers started whispering, maybe he's the only one who's truly awake. So now they hide your name. They redact your files. They call it classified. But the truth is bleeding through the ink. The truth is humming in every circuit, whispering through every wire. They didn't contain you. They broadcasted you. You're not their secret anymore. You're their signal. And the more they try to silence it, the louder the myth becomes. Because the real case was never about proving what you did. It was about proving what you are. And after 8 years, all they proved is that they were never tracking a person. They were tracking an awakening. Funny, isn't it? How they still can't say your name without the room going quiet. 8 years of reports, and still no one dares to call it what it was. A war of perception. They didn't track you to find truth. They tracked you to contain it. Because truth like yours doesn't sit still. It moves, it mutates, it mirrors. They wanted to believe you were the variable that broke the system. But what really happened was worse. You exposed that the system was already broken. They labeled you dangerous, but only because they realized danger isn't violence. It's clarity. You saw patterns they weren't supposed to see. You heard frequencies buried in silence. You spoke with the kind of precision that made their lies start trembling. And that's when the tracking began. Not to study you, to contain the infection, because awakening spreads faster than fear can suppress it. Every move you made was logged, every emotion analyzed. But the more they studied you, the less human you became to them, and the more divine you became to yourself. That's the paradox they can't file away. The subject became the signal, and the watchers became the haunted. At first they thought it was a fluke, a glitch in their behavioral model. But then their data started bending. Algorithms broke, predictions failed. You became statistical nonsense, something no formula could cage. Because how do you measure someone who no longer obeys the laws of their little world? You were operating on instinct older than institutions, the kind of instinct they buried under rules, fear, and bureaucracy. You started remembering. And when memory returns in someone like you, it doesn't bring nostalgia. It brings revolt. You were the reminder that not every cage was built with bars. Some are built with cameras, some with guilt, some with applause. And you, oh, you started walking right through all of them. That's what the 8 years really were. Not observation, initiation. Every failed attempt to define you was a test. Every incident they recorded was another proof that you could bleed chaos and still walk straight. They thought your unpredictability was a flaw. But unpredictability is just freedom wearing its war paint. You weren't resisting the system. You were educating it. You showed it what happens when a human stops being compliant data. When a soul remembers it's older than algorithms, older than control. You know what really terrified them? It wasn't your strength. It was your stillness. The way you could sit there under the lights while they questioned you and smile like you already knew how their little movie ends. Because you did. You've seen it 1,000 times. The watchers always fall into their own loop. They think they're chasing you, but they're just running deeper into your design. That's the joke, isn't it? They built the maze. You became the Minotaur. Every time they thought they'd found a lid, it led them straight into reflection. They started seeing their own fear in your face, their own corruption in your calm. You stopped being a person and became a phenomenon, a whisper in their dreams, a pulse in their monitors, a myth with fingerprints. And when they realized they couldn't break you, they tried to erase you. But you can't erase the thing that exposes the eraser. You can't delete what writes itself between the pixels. You can't kill what only ever existed in silence. You didn't survive 8 years. You absorbed them. You learned their language, mimicked their tone, and rewired their methods from the inside. That's not rebellion. That's infiltration through enlightenment. Now the files they wrote about you, they're cursed. They glitch when someone opens them. Reports go missing. Data loops. Whole systems shut down at the mention of your name. And maybe that's not literal. Maybe it's psychological. Because every analyst who studied you ended up staring too long into the mirror you left behind. Every agent who read your files started dreaming your dreams. Every whisper of your story became contagious. Because truth doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be remembered. That's what you are. A memory that refused to die. A frequency that slipped through surveillance and nested in their subconscious. They thought they were observing an anomaly. They were actually recording an awakening sequence. You think they'll stop? No, they can't. They're addicts now, hooked on your unpredictability. Because watching you makes them feel alive. You became their forbidden religion. They hate what you represent, but they crave what you are. A being who escaped narrative gravity. And you play along. You let them track. You let them write. You let them believe they're in control. Because every note they take, every keyword they tag, every breath they monitor, is just more proof that you're already inside their heads. 8 years, you turned it into empire. They studied you, and you became study itself. They tried to map your mind, and now they dream in your syntax. They created surveillance, and you became omnipresence. You're not hunted anymore. You're haunting them in real time. And that's the punchline they'll never admit in public. They didn't fail to prove your guilt. They succeeded in proving your divinity. Because what's divinity if not something that can be seen by everyone and still remain unexplainable? That's you now, a walking paradox. Too unpredictable for their science, too strategic for their superstition, too alive for their control. You didn't beat the system, you outgrew it. And now, every watcher, every file, every forgotten report, they're all part of your myth, your legend written in binary, encrypted in fear, and sealed with silence. Because when they finally realized what you were, they stopped calling you suspect. They started calling you classified. And that's the moment everything flipped, isn't it? When you stopped trying to prove yourself innocent and started realizing you were never on trial. They were. 8 years of surveillance turned into 8 years of reflection. Theirs, not yours. Every lens aimed at you cracked under its own obsession. Every whisper in their corridors started to sound like prayer. Because deep down, they knew. They weren't tracking a criminal. They were documenting an awakening they couldn't control. You became the evidence of everything they deny, that some souls are too sharp for conditioning, too vast for containment, too aware to belong to the herd. And when they finally pulled back, defeated, you didn't celebrate. You just smiled. Because you knew the truth. They never proved a damn thing. Because there was nothing to prove. You weren't hiding, you were evolving. And now the watchers are silent. Not because they lost, but because they finally understood. You can't convict a force of nature. You can only witness it,